Hello, saints. You recognize the statue? Statue from Daniel chapter 2, Nebuchadnezzar's dream. In there we saw the parade of four nations that culminated with the destruction of the statue by the rock that was cut out without hand, and the rock that grew into a mountain and became the forever kingdom. And we read in there in chapter 2, and we also read there in Daniel chapter 7 about the four beasts who come up out of the water, and there's the same parade of nations that culminate with the one that looks like the Son of Man coming to the Ancient of Days, there to receive dominion, there to receive a kingdom. And we think that we're looking into the future, and oftentimes we talk about the end of the world and what's happening now in the days we're living in. Maybe we're not looking far enough, because both of these visions really talk about the culmination of everything and the setting up of something new. And that takes us to the book of Revelation. In Revelation chapter 21, we see what's happening. We see the culmination beyond the 10 toes. What we see here in Revelation chapter 21, verse 5, that he who sits on the throne says, "Behold, I am making all things new." And he said, "Write, for these words are faithful and true." All things are made new. And this is how the chapter starts. Go back up to verse 1 in chapter 21. "Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth passed away, and there was no longer any sea. And I saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, made ready as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, 'Behold, the tabernacle of God is among men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself will be among them. And he will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and there will no longer be any death. There will no longer be any mourning or crying or pain. The first things have passed away.'" And so when we study prophecy, let's think about what God has been doing all along. He's restoring all things. When Adam and Eve fell, it wasn't just in the restoration of mankind, but it was in putting things back the way they were before sin entered into God's creation. He's restoring all things. All things are made new. This is the culmination and hope that we read about in the book of Revelation. It's not a book about doomsday. It's the book about a new beginning. That's why it's called the book, the Revelation of Jesus. It's revealing who Jesus is, not just as the lamb sacrifice, but as the King and Creator, the one who has restored all things and put them back the way they were before sin came into the world. That's our hope when we come into the book, is to see that God is setting things right. It's our privilege when we preach the first angel's message. For in that message, we see not just a proclaiming of the gospel, but the proclaiming of God's judgment, where he's stepping upon the stage of action to restore justice in an unjust world. That's our hope. And when we study Daniel 2, and study Daniel 7, and study there in Revelation in chapters 12 and 13 and 14, let's keep in mind that it's not about the end, but it's about the beginning. The new beginning on the new earth and the new city where sin has been put away. Blessings.